Hi guys, obviously forgive the filming location, still in the midst of a potential second wave here in sunny Queensland, so I'm still filming from the Plague Garage. So, most important thing, or the biggest mistake that I see with back issues, and it's a recurring theme and it drives me absolutely crazy because it's completely unnecessarily, is not identifying and removing your pain triggers or not taking that process seriously enough. So a lot of people just want to skip to give me the exercise, give me the treatment, whatever it may be, give me the quick fix, get me out of pain. The trouble is that if you don't understand what's creating the injury and the pain, you're setting yourself up for continued failure. And you're forever going to be stuck in that cycle of, oh, it kind of comes good, and then it goes bad again, and it kind of comes good, and it goes bad again. So identifying and removing your pain triggers, which are the causes of your back pain and your injury, if you don't understand them and remove them, you're never going to get anywhere long term. And it could be, something innocuous like just day-to-day stuff, like for example, like how you hoover the carpet, how you get into and out of bed. Perhaps the bed itself is an issue, and it could be movement-based things. It can also be passive-based things. So posture when you sit at a desk. It could be your posture when you sleep in bed at night because your bed's not quite right. It could be because you sit on a couch that's bad for you. It could be all these things that are continuously sensitizing the back to pain. And if we don't identify and remove them long term, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to get stuck in that cycle of good versus bad days and never really understand what's going on. So with that process, there's a bit of a caveat because to get the most out of it, you have to accept an uncomfortable truth. And that uncomfortable truth is that you're responsible for how your back feels, because your back only responds to how you're using it. So if you're having a good day, you've obviously moved, or you've had better postures that aren't sensitizing the back to pain. Conversely, if the back's in pain or you're on a knife edge, you've used it in ways that are aggravating it and provoking your injury. So if you try and skip that understanding and go straight to just trying to do exercise and treatments, whatever it may be, best case scenario, you're going to have very limited success and kind of end up just chasing your tail. Worst case scenario, you might actually make things worse because you don't understand your injury mechanics. You might just see a video online that says, oh, for back pain, just do this exercise. But that one exercise could be provoking the mechanics of your injury because you haven't taken the time to understand it. So the biggest mistake, and I continue to see it, is people not taking the time to understand and remove the pain aggravators. If you do that, your back won't be in pain anymore. It's as simple as that. And then from there, you can look at the exercises and the training, the things you want to do to build strength and more robustness into the spine. But that only comes second to identifying and removing your pain triggers. It must be done. So as an aside, since 2013, which I really sort of deep dived into kind of back issues and using the fantastic work of Professor Stuart McGill, I've only had 4 people that I couldn't help. And those 4 people, and people would say, well, of course you can't help everyone. Their injury might be so horrific that it's unfixable with movement-based training and things like that. Now, I agree. I can't help everybody, and no trainer or therapist or clinician could. But it's got nothing to do with the severity of the injury. It's actually converse to that, because those 4 people I couldn't help had the mildest back issues I've ever encountered. So if you're looking at think of a spectrum of kind of the people that I see, they were right at this end. It was just small, niggly, annoyed, slightly annoyed back. They didn't do any sort of major training damage or have any major accidents or anything. They just had a continued exposure to back pain aggravators and triggers that they weren't doing a good enough job in removing. If anything, they were sort of a little bit laissez-faire with it and just were like, I kind of had a good week and then had a bad week, I don't really know why. So, well, you do know why. I'd dig and I'd ask questions with them. It's because you've exposed yourself to your aggravators and you're not managing it, which means you're never going to get anywhere. And at the end of that spectrum, I've had people that have had MRIs and severe trauma. One guy got smashed in the back by a 200 kilo log. So if you remember that scene from Predator, where the log swings out of a tree. He was a tree surgeon. One of the strops came off one end and the log came down and smashed him in the back. Fractured 2 or 3 of his transverse processes on one side and put cracks into his vertebrae and all sorts. By the time I came to see him, his MRI was like something out of a horror story. Yeah, because he did a great job at identifying and removing his pain triggers and being very methodical and establishing new movement and posture habits. Within a few weeks, he was on the right track. Within a couple of months, he was pain-free. Simple as that. But again, the guys at the end of the spectrum that have very mild back issues, they tend to don't take it very seriously, and then they end up kind of stuck in that they've forever got back pain, even though it's a very mild case of it and a very mild issue. And really, just if they did a better job not aggravating the back in the first place, they'd be completely pain-free within a few days, and they would stay like that. So again, biggest mistake I would see is people not identifying and not removing the causes of their back pain and their back injuries. So again, if you want long-term success, you have to take that process seriously. And you have to, the better the job that you do it, the more likely, or the better the outcome is going to be in terms of long-term back pain and not having flare-ups. Because at the end of the day, a flare-up is an exposure to your pain aggravators, as simple as that. So again, if your back is in pain, you're exposing yourself to movement and pain aggravators. If you identify them and stop doing them or stop exposing yourself to them, your back won't be in pain, and then you can add in exercise and do all the things you want to do on top of that. So again, I can't stress this enough because I try and hammer it into all my clients, but not everyone gets it, even though I continue to say you have to do this non-negotiable 100%. You have to identify and remove your pain triggers. You have to identify and remove the causes of your injury. If you don't, you're never going to get anywhere long term. And again, at best, you're just going to have small little breaks in pain and never really understand what's going on. But if you do a good job and you accept and understand that you're responsible for the state of your back based on how you choose to move and sit and do things, then a pain-free back is going to be yours for life. So don't take it for granted. Identify and remove your pain triggers. If you do that, I used to say you've won half the battle. You've basically won 80% of the battle. Because if you do a good enough job, you won't have back pain anymore. And then it's just a question of how strong you want your back to be after that. So identify and remove your pain triggers. That's the biggest mistake I see people make. Never taking that process seriously enough, therefore you're not going to get the results. So, can't stress it again, identify and remove your pain triggers. Not doing that is the biggest mistake that I see. That's the reason why people don't get anywhere with their back rehab.